welcome to GraftCast. Today I'm in our new studios in Oxford with our host from the cluster,
Yes,
Kevin.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you very much.
Kevin, have you always been entrepreneurial?
I'm glad you asked me that question. Yes and no. I've always had PAYE jobs, so I went for the safe option. But I've always been interested in A, working for myself and B, not being answerable to anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
Whether or not that translated into being entrepreneurial at a young age, possibly not, because I wasn't as confident. I was quite shy. As I got older and I worked with different people, I think you start to see how not to run a business. And that's mainly one of the reasons why I wanted to get into running my own business, is because I could see all the sort of failure points and I just didn't want to do what other people had done, which is an awful thing to say, because I should be saying, you know, I followed a lot of people that were really good at what they did, but those were few and far between. So, yeah. So the short answer to that question is yes, but no.
So would you say that you're a bit of a, and don't take it the wrong way, late bloomer?
Absolutely. Total late bloomer. Yeah. I was really shy when I was younger. I don't entirely know why. I suppose I was from a family of four. I was the youngest of four. I had two very academic brothers, and then I had my sister who was quite creative. And yeah, definitely a late bloomer when it came to wanting to run my own business. I mean, I'm 47 now, and I only started the cluster a year and a bit ago. Mm-hmm. So yeah, very late bloomer.
And do you have any sort of family that have been entrepreneurial at all? Or
oddly, no, not really. No, my dad was kind of a stalwart PAYE and did a job his whole life for pretty much one company. I think that's what most people used to do. So no, not really. I mean, my mum she was a sort of teacher, foreign language teacher. She also taught in schools. She was almost a headmistress. So she also had a lot of things on the sideline that she used to do in teaching English as a foreign language. And it wasn't as sort of policed, I suppose, if you want, in those days. She was able to be more free in how she taught people and things like that. So there's an element of it, but I wouldn't say I have a huge amount of background in entrepreneurial people in my family. No.
So for the viewers, could you just give us a little bit of a whistle-stop tour of your professional journey so far?
Oh, crikey, yeah. My mum, funnily enough, this is funny actually, she keeps a diary of all my jobs because so many.
Really?
So you should be actually interviewing her. Yeah, so I didn't go to university. I had a position to go to university. I decided not to go. I then went straight into work at retail. So that's where I found it. I don't know why I went straight into retail. I think I found it the easiest place to sort of get into. I didn't have amazing qualifications. I don't think you need to. Not if you're going to become an entrepreneur. I don't think it's hugely important. Worked in a theatre in Oxford for a long period of time. I'd say that's probably one of the longest jobs I had. And worked in various aspects of the theatre, from the box office to front of house to understanding how the whole theatre worked. And then found my niche, I suppose, in doing PA work. So working with high net worth families, being a PA for business owners. And that's where I picked up a lot of my desire, I suppose, to want to become an entrepreneur and run my own business. So yeah, mostly retail. Yeah, and I don't have many gaps in my CV. There's a few.
And was there sort of something that was the catalyst to you going from the theatre to PA? Because that's quite a different sort of.
Do you know? Honestly, this is a really horrible answer, but it was money.
Really?
Yeah. So retail, there's just, unless you're very high up, there's not a huge amount of money in it. Working in the theatre, unless you're quite high up, there's not a lot of money in it. And I was getting older, so as I said, I was a late bloomer. I started quite late, so it was predominantly money because there was more money in it. But it was also working more closely with one person, and I quite enjoy shadowing somebody and learning from them. And I think that's really important. If you can do that for a stretch of time, as I said, you learn really good things. You also learn how not to do things, because none of us are perfect. Yeah. So that was really useful. So predominantly it was money. And then after a while, it became building a relationship with that person, actually understanding how to make their job easier and enable them to succeed. And I think I got to a point where I decided I was a bit fed up of doing that for other people, so I should try doing it for myself.
So how many people would you say that you've worked with in a PA, as a PA?
Do you know, not a huge amount, because I was doing retail and theatre for quite a long time, but I was always on the side doing PA work, but actually as a proper job, being paid to do it, 15 years, maybe 16 years, so a good stretch of time. And it wasn't always just based around business, it was based around their personal life as well. So you get quite engrossed as a family PA, you get quite engrossed in their family life, and you have to be willing to turn your hand to pretty much everything, really, if you're a good PA. So yeah.
And what was anything in particular about being a PA that attracted you to it, other than the money, obviously? But yeah.
Yes, I think because, like I said, I've never found it particularly easy being part of a really big machine. So I've always found it easier to work alongside somebody and know that what I'm achieving is like it's something that I can grasp hold of. You know, so if I've helped somebody in a PA role, I can see what difference that has made. You know, I've taken a lot of decision making off their hands, which means they can then proceed in their business and succeed quicker, succeed better. And I think that's what I enjoyed, that sort of personal aspect of business, because I think we often lose that. When a business gets bigger and bigger and bigger, you can lose that, but a PA grounds somebody, especially if you're working closely with the CEO.
Yeah, yeah, and I suppose you sort of can be a sponge in a way.
Yes, yeah, and sometimes that's hard. That's really hard because you're absorbing a lot of somebody else's difficulties, and that's hard. But I think it's also, like I said, I've always preferred a quick win. I've always preferred that ability to see what I have achieved very quickly, which is vastly different to running my own business because although there are quick wins, you've got to see the much bigger picture as well. So that's been a massive gear change. So.
And is the cluster, is that your first business? Yeah.
First proper business that's been registered on Companies House. Yeah. So first real business that I decided to set up. I had lots of little side businesses when I was growing up and little things I decided to do, but nothing that actually paid the bills. So yeah, my first ever business started in July 2024. So yeah, just over a year old.
And can you explain what the cluster is and
Absolutely.
what you do?
So the cluster is predominantly a co-working space. I'm small, so co-working only really works as an economy of scale. So the bigger you are, the easier it is to run a co-working space. So we also have an event space in a yard outside. We have a cafe, which is not run by myself. It's run by Meat Point Coffee, but we work closely together. So they're on site as well. So they drive business in just by the fact that people want to drink coffee and eat good food. And then we are also potentially having, well, we've also got you guys here now, Pod Collective, which will be a brilliant addition to what we do. And I think there's a lot of entrepreneurs as well who are working here that are interested in finding new ways to promote their business. And I think the old school ways of sort of social media, very sort of static social media, isn't working for them. So this sort of thing is brilliant. So that's why I wanted to have you guys here. I think you approached me, which was brilliant. But yeah, we are predominantly co-working. We also hire out space and we also do events at weekends.
Brilliant. And so obviously we know you from door knocking.
Yeah.
But what was it about podcasting? Because you have your own podcast, don't you, as well?
Yeah.
What is it about podcasting that you like as a form of marketing?
I think it just feels more, I guess it's like breaking the fourth wall. I think for a lot of businesses, they can feel hidden behind a sort of LinkedIn profile or hidden behind an Instagram profile. But I think with podcasting, you're immediately breaking into someone's day-to-day life and you're offering real advice as opposed to sort of written advice. I mean, I have an article that I write on LinkedIn. Oddly, when I do more face-to-face video work, it gets more hits. And I think generally people are quite nosy, one, and that's not a bad thing. I mean that in the best possible way. And I think people like to get a glimpse into how you run your business as opposed to just, here's some advice, take it or leave it. And I think they like to, I think that's the thing I like with my podcast is that it's quite real. So people get to ask questions, we reply to them, we it's only our advice, right? So take it or leave it. But it's also a bit more lighthearted. But that's what I like. That's sort of breaking the fourth wall. That's how I see it with the podcast.
Yeah, I agree. I think with businesses in particular, you know, people buy from people.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they're not going to see that person through just, you know, a short or a clip. Yeah. But a podcast and actually having a conversation with someone really shows their personality, builds trust.
And some of the videos that you've posted, I know it sounds odd, we haven't known each other long, but you did a video for here and you immediately get a sense of what somebody's like.
Yeah.
And I know often we can perform, but I think what you're doing after a while, once you've done a few podcasts, you just don't really, you can't got the energy to perform.
No.
You just present yourself as you are.
Yeah.
So I think you get a real understanding. And that's what works here. If when I'm getting reviews, people say what we really like is that you're here, you understand the space. I've been in this building for 10 years because I worked for a company before I took on the space. And so they know that they're getting me and not just some faceless corporation that's in Jersey somewhere.
And you just mentioned the company that you worked for before here. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Yeah.
Yeah, so they were a design agency. They still exist. They're called One Limited. And we were a company between different times between 20 and 15 people. So they did a lot of work with a lot of design work, a lot of websites, campaigns with some big names, NHS, Pearson, all sorts of different people. And I, along with the rest of my colleagues, got made redundant. It was actually all very amicable, although that doesn't sound like it should be. It was the right time for everybody. The business had been running quite some time, and it's still running, but just with my boss, who I was the PA for, who's now running it on her own. And the rest of us went our own way, and I had an option to either walk away from this building, which is an amazing building, or attempt something. And we're now over a year in, and it's going okay.
What would, so since sort of leaving that job and doing your own thing, what are the sort of main changes in your life, would you say, being self-employed?
You know, it's funny actually, because I was writing an article today called Famine or Feast, and it's that just breathing through those periods. I know that sounds a bit stupid, but breathing through those periods where like August is really dry for most people in business, unless you're Airbnb or TripAdvisor or something like that. So it's really tough in August because everybody's away, no one's got any money, everybody's arguing on the motorway. So we oh, you're right. Okay. So we tend to find that co-working is quiet in August, and that's a really hard thing. So going from PAYE, where I've got a guaranteed income, to never entirely being sure how well we're going to do month to month, that's quite hard. But you learn just to lean into it, and you learn not to panic, because oddly it always, somehow, as long as you do your job well, you present your product well, you present yourself well, it always tends to work out. Generally, touch wood.
That's actually really reassuring to hear, to be honest, because today I've just sort of had one of those days that's
you
just...
you and me both.
Two of the things that I hate most about being self-employed is obviously that awkward conversation that you have to have with clients sometimes, and maybe they're going to leave or whatever, you don't know, and they ask for a call or something. Really, what I'd say is have client calls all the time, because it just normalizes it. But also the tax stuff. So like, had that email from your accountant
I got a brown letter the other day.
Saying,
I don't want to open it.
And it's it's saying like, oh, you need to pay this much in corporation tax. It's like, oh my God, how am I going to do that?
It's really hard. And I think when you're first starting a business, your instinct is to just react to it. And I'm quite a reactive person, so I'll try to plan as much as I can, but I'll tend to react to things. But I'm sort of toning it down. I'm putting it like DEFCON 1 as opposed to DEFCON 10. So I'm just breathing through it and going, okay, it's fine, don't panic, it'll be all right. And weirdly though, I was chatting to somebody else today, I call them my customers, and he's been running his own business for 15 years. It's just him on his own. And he said it oddly doesn't get easier, but you sort of understand that it will eventually work its way out, so he'll have work for 3 months, but he knows that come October, November, December, he hasn't got anything right now. And often he's having to turn away work. So it's that whole famine and feast. When you've got loads of work, you have to turn work away. Sometimes you have to stay with work you're not particularly enjoying because you've committed to the job. But he said you just have to know that ultimately, if your product is solid and what you're offering is good, you will be okay. Yeah.
No, that's fantastic. That's really good. It just makes me feel a lot better that I'm not the only one.
Yeah, no, not at all. And I think that's the nice thing about co-working, is that you look around and you think, oh God, everybody's got it together.
Yeah.
Everybody's earning millions. Everybody's just coasting through running a business. And then the second you do a couple of, I hate this word, but the second you do a couple of networking events or just meeting up with people, you start to realise, God, we're all in the same boat.
Yeah.
Like a recent, something called Independent Oxford, which is for all the independent businesses in Oxford. We had a recent meetup and we realised that we should all have I want to close my business rating, because there are days when you just go, I'm done, I can't do it. And then the very next day you're like, oh, I just had 7 inquiries.
Yeah.
It's all going to be okay. So I think knowing that everybody else is in exactly the same position, and that, just overlook the Mark Zuckerbergs and all those sort of people. But most solopreneurs and entrepreneurs starting up are all in the same position.
Yeah. And sometimes that sort of change in feeling and can happen literally in a few hours.
Yeah, in minutes. Like I was feeling really down this morning, and I got 2 emails. I was like, oh, that's not great. You need to be a bit more balanced than that. But I got 2 emails asking for, inquiring about desks. And then they come in and they go, oh, we only want it for a day. And then I go back down again. Yeah. But it's just, I think it's the ebb and flow of running your own business. And you just have to not panic. Just don't panic.
Yeah.
That's all I can say.
And then most things are hurdles that you can overcome.
Yeah, absolutely. As well. And also, if you can't on your own, I run the business on my own, but I work closely with, I will be hopefully working closely with you guys. I work quite closely with the cafe guys. So, and I think having other people to bounce off when you're having a particularly bad day is brilliant, because they'll just go, yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
Or they'll go, no, I don't get it. And you just walk away, drink a coffee and get on with it.
Yeah.
But it's useful, it's helpful.
Yeah, I feel that with Jack as well. Like when we're on our way to some sort of location, and it's always just venting together.
Yeah,
It's
in the
just
car, it's
like
the best place. So I've got my best
shouting.
mate. Yeah, I've got my best mate. And we've driven into work for the last 15 years because he works just down the road, and that's all we do in the car. We just either moan or we celebrate, mostly moan, and it just gets it out of your system. But you have to find an avenue for that. Yeah. And if you're working as a solopreneur, surround yourself with people. Like even people like my next door neighbour here, she's amazing. I'll go in there and just drink coffee with her, and she'll just let me sit there, and no one can get hold of me. I'll just breathe, and I'll just talk to her about how rubbish it all is or how brilliant it all is. So,
So with the blogging and everything like that you're doing at the moment, is that an opportunity for you to vent, or is it something that you're using as almost like leverage?
I try to keep my venting to people I trust and not online, because it gets misunderstood. It's more, I will vent about, it's not even vent, I will talk about things that are frustrating me, but it'll be more personal. It won't be sort of, let's not get too existential. It's not about a bigger business picture. So at the moment I'm writing an article just about being slightly chaotic and somehow managing to run a business, because I think you just look online, you think, oh, everybody seems to have got it together, and they've all got these slick profiles and brilliant articles. And mine are just about, August is a difficult month. Don't fret, don't panic. Although I am, but don't do it yourself. So it is an opportunity for me just to explain to people where I started a year ago. And what's amazing is I've had some people contact me and go, thank you for being so brutally honest, and just saying that there are those days when you just think, why the hell did I do this? And then there are other days when I go, this is amazing. I love it. I couldn't think of anywhere else to be. So it's an opportunity to vent, but more it's an opportunity for me to share how I'm feeling and how things can be quite frustrating in business, but also the wins as well. So I try to keep the really angry, venty stuff to the car when I'm driving in.
Because in those blog posts, you sort of talk about being a solopreneur.
Yeah.
Is outsourcing something that you would look at in the future?
Yeah, once I can afford it, unless somebody wants to offer it to me for free. It is, although it's when you run a business entirely on your own, it's quite difficult to let go, because you know that you can do things relatively well. If you've set up a business, chances are you're not an idiot. So you can run a business yourself. So yes, I would like to outsource. I mean, for example, with the cafe, I always wanted a cafe. I knew I couldn't run a cafe. I absolutely couldn't. I just wouldn't have the time, wouldn't have the expertise. And that's why these guys were fantastic. They came in and set up a base in my yard, and they set up, started in October. Same with you guys coming here. I couldn't do this. I can talk on a podcast, or I can run a podcast. Never done a video cast. So that's something you guys have got a perfect expertise in, and people will feel comfortable coming to you and working alongside you, or using the space without you. So that's not something I could ever do. So that's why it's brilliant to have you guys here. So yes, outsourcing I think is really important when you're a solopreneur, because you're just burnt out. And outsourcing is even sometimes asking my mum to read an article, or asking my brother for some advice. He's quite a high up business person, so it's really useful to get that insight from him about how he's doing things on a much larger scale, and I can sort of bring it down to my level, which is just one site at the moment.
And I suppose it's partnerships as well in that. It's collabing with people. I remember going into like I think it was my first networking event, and there'll be so many other social media people there.
Yeah,
and it's just now knowing that it's so much better to just collaborate and not see each other as competitors.
And ultimately everybody's a competitor, but we're all doing things slightly differently.
Yeah.
And so, I'm surrounded by other co-working spaces, some that have huge amounts of money, that have thrown money at their places, and other places that are slightly smaller, maybe a little bit more dated. So we're all offering something entirely different, but if people don't want what I'm selling, that's absolutely fine. Of course I'll take feedback and I'll listen to people's responses and try and make things better. But the nucleus of what I'm offering is something quite personal. It's a smaller space. It's more engaging. We know each other. We have WhatsApp groups. And if that's not what you want, that's totally fine. And people have come in here and gone, it's not quite my vibe. I'm fine with that. I can't be offended by that. That's their choice. So then they go and find something somewhere else. So, but you're right. Collaborating with other people is important, and I think being a solopreneur, just working on your own, is massively important, because I just couldn't offer the services that you guys in the cafe are offering. So.
And it's coming to the conclusion that when people say that sort of thing, you take it professionally and not personally.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's one of the biggest things that I've come across.
It's hard though.
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
Really hard, because they're, especially when you're on a down day or you're having a bit of a tough day and somebody says something and you're like, oh, it just hits home. But you just have to remember that ultimately, most of my feedback, I ask them to give it to me to my face if it's not good. If it's good, they can do it online. But generally, I think that's the best way. I'd much rather somebody say this didn't work for me.
Yeah.
Because if you just put it online, A, I might not see it, although I'm pretty good at responding to Google reviews. And then B, I don't know what the issue was necessarily. It can get misread and misconstrued. So absolutely, talk to me face to face. Tell me how this didn't work. Don't become a keyboard warrior.
Yeah.
You know, just tell me to my face and let's make this better. And if we can't, we'll just agree to disagree and you'll find a place for you. And I'll try to improve, but keep my core offering as it was.
Certainly over emails. I mean, things can be misconstrued absolutely
so easily.
But sometimes I think to myself, I'd rather just hear it up front, right there and then. It's like someone's asked for a call in a few days' time. It's like, I just want to know.
Just tell me now. I know, it's really horrible. I hate that. I think you're probably quite similar to me, that I'd much rather just deal with it.
Yeah.
Just there and then. Just tell me right now, because then I know what I'm working with. Otherwise, it's like, what is this good or bad? I've had people email me and go, I'll talk to you in a week. I'm like, why do you want to talk to me in a week? And then you start to like elaborate in your head, because like your imagination is so much better than real life. And actually, they're just like, actually, I'm away for a week, so I'll get back. Oh, okay, I can breathe.
Exactly.
So yeah, it's just, that is quite hard though, to not take it personally.
Or like, we've just opened another branch and I need you to do that one too, or whatever. But it's always just jumping to the worst thing.
But I also think if you're quite an approachable person and you're willing to listen, I think that's the most important thing. And for me, that's not just listening to people who are paying to be here. Yeah. It's listening to people who have some brilliant ideas. And from that, I've had some really interesting conversations and collaborations. So one of the examples is there was a guy here who I think he possibly invented or had some involvement with a 3D printing pen. And we just got chatting and he just took a desk for the day. And I said, look, I'd love to do an event here to do with that. It's something quite new. It's not a printer, it's a 3D pen. And from that, it's flourished that we can now put on a proper workshop, and that he's willing to provide some of the stock. And we're going to sell that as something quite unique for Oxford that's not, as far as I'm aware, has not been done before. So, and that would never have happened unless we'd had a chance just to chat over a cup of tea.
Yeah.
But it wasn't specifically networking. We were just chatting over a cup of tea in the kitchen. So it was really quite, I guess I call it incidental meetings up. It wasn't, you weren't looking to meet up with somebody to make a connection.
Absolutely. It's the importance of meeting face to face.
Absolutely.
And looking at someone in the eye.
Yeah.
So what are your plans with the cluster in the next few years?
Well, first of all, to make the Pod Collective a massive success here, because I think there's a huge gap in the market, especially this side of Oxford, for people presenting themselves on video casts and doing podcasts. I already know of 3 people at least who want to do a podcast, so for their business, and whether or not they'll carry on doing that, they just want to experiment and try it. And I think that's something I'm really keen to kind of push, obviously. We also want to expand. We've got planning permission to put a shipping container in the car park. And that at the moment could be a whole variety of different things. It could just be a space people can hire. It could be a zero waste refill shop. It could be a workshop space for my friend who's a jeweler. We just don't know at the moment, but we've got the planning permission. But I've got another 2.5 years to make a decision. But I need to get a move on with that, and then put on more and more events. And we've got more and more events coming up, which are on the website. So just continue with that, and also carry on building the community, because it's kind of ebbs and flows. People come and go. That's the nature of it. I can't take it personally. People have different situations where they need to leave, or they need to leave the country, or they want to go back to working at home. So it's just to get a constant flow of people working at the cluster. So,
brilliant.
And also to not panic so much.
Yeah. Are there any sort of, I know that we've just mentioned a few there, but any key lessons that you've learnt from becoming a solopreneur?
Yes. If you're going to promise something, deliver. Because I think when you start, you have all these really great ideas that you want to deliver this, you want to do this, and also be realistic. If there's 2 of you, you can probably do more than if there's 1 of you. If there's 3 of you, you can do even more. So be realistic about what you can do, and don't burn out. And also, the best piece of advice, 2 pieces of advice I was given, so I can't claim these as my own, were just start. And I've got a friend who, I know it sounds odd, but she's been looking for years to start music therapy and to start her own sort of network where she can provide support and documentation and courses. And she'd been putting it off for years. And I said, just start something. It doesn't matter how big it is. It doesn't have to be all bells and whistles and website and site and branding. Just start something. So, and that's really the advice I was given. And also, as much as you have to be careful in business and you have to do things by the book, and you should, a piece of advice my brother gave me, which is a bit renegade, which is ask for forgiveness, not for permission, within reason, right? There are certain things you should be doing, have your insurances in place, make sure you've got your health and safety sorted out, make sure you're abiding by the laws of the land. But at the same time, don't get so caught up in, oh God, I need to do this, and this, because you just will never start. And I think when you start, that's when you start to notice. I mean, if I didn't have this, for example, you guys would have walked straight past. Obviously, you would have walked past. Or even if I'd not had the cafe, possibly, you may well have walked past and thought, didn't know what it was.
It's funny you say that, because I think you were actually here when we came, and someone went in to find you, and they were like,
I was too busy?
Yeah.
No, you never told me that. Why did you tell me that on camera?
And as we were driving away, you called us.
No, I wasn't here.
Maybe we thought that you were here, and we just told you.
No, absolutely. I would never do that. No, I've got a doorbell camera.
Yeah.
And so if people want me, because I was working at the time and now I'm full-time here, oh my God, no, I would never have done that. I even went out and met somebody that wanted to put a skip in my car park. So no, absolutely.
No, you're all good,
but I imagine if the cafe there hadn't have been here, you probably wouldn't have even noticed. The gates would have been shut.
Yeah.
Because we've got this little gatehouse door. So once you get started, you start to meet people who can offer you services, help you, engage with you, and also you can hopefully give them a premises to succeed.
Yeah, that's awesome. If you could invite anybody to a dinner party, dead or alive, who would it be?
Do you know, mine are slightly weird. So one of them would be Gandhi. I think that's standard. Most people say that, don't they? I don't know, Gandhi. Alive, Nicole Kidman. Bit weird. Kylie Minogue, just become a massive fan. And James, who's the man that does the Hoovers? James Dyson.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Just, can you imagine a room with those four in? Be weird. Be a networking event I'd go to. So yeah, James Dyson, Kylie, Gandhi, and Nicole Kidman.
I was trying to think
have fun with that.
Of some sort of Kylie Minogue pun, but I can't. So I'll end it off there.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming on.
Thanks
Kevin.
for having me.
Cheers.